So here playing God Kings, about to head into the second round of the first turn, but I just managed to actually do something I don't usually do. Brand new game. Still, I happened to stumble online to the errata. And indeed, I judged things correctly where there were clear ambiguities that I've seen. The couple that I brought up, I'm playing the right way, I believe. But I found something I really didn't like. So, I did not see this anywhere in the rules. Of course, I'm not the most detailed and careful person, but I wouldn't have seen it if it was in the rule, if it was where it's suggested, which is going to be on the Kingdom of Egypt chart. It's supposed to say down here we're going to produce an extra, I guess, tribune and wood point in Upper Egypt. And that's supposed to be on the player card. That's not sufficient for me. It really isn't. Even if it had been deployed as suggested, there has to be more than that, I think. And it should say it on the map or something. Anyway, I'll try to remember that, but I can't find it anywhere. One thing I did find though, after seeing that, I said, hey, wait a minute, where do you get the wood? Because you get them from that. Well, you get wood, I guess, from these, says control yields 1 wood point. It looks like they're around cities, rather than in the province itself. I'm not sure what that means. Let's take a look at the costs, because again, so he calculates tribune points he gets from occupied provinces, and he calculates number of wood points from the spaces with the wood point symbol. Yeah, so control of a province gives you tribune points, wood points come from spaces. Now, here's the other question. Do these have to be spent, or can you save them? Unused ones are lost, so you kind of, this is the issue that I had been complaining about before. You kind of pick these up and then immediately spend them. You might have a couple on your track because of trader actions or whatever, but in general, you're not going to be holding those on your track, and you have, 4 counters for each country devoted to that. Anyway, I guess we'll get started with the turn. Okay, so let's open things up with the Mitanni, who will be going first, and they play this card that they didn't really want to use to activate their leader up here. And he marches down 1, 2, 3. He's got 4 movement points. He's going to go into Arwad and actually face Thutmose here. But just before he does, he's going to throw the Wrath of Assur, which is going to be an army of his choice, but not one of his own, suffers attrition immediately. He wants to defeat him, and he wants to weaken him a little bit. I don't think this is going to work. I think, this is sort of a crapshoot. But I got a lot of dice to roll here, don't I? I've got, take a look at what attrition was going to be. Each 1 die for each unit, and on a 5 or a 6 it'll be taking step losses. So we'll be basically going through each of these units one at a time, and I'll just spread them out here and trying to hurt them. And I'll start with that first one there. He's flipped. Second one, no. Red and white from the left. Red and white. No. And then the last 2. And these both are hit. So the Egyptians have taken some significant losses, and now the combined force is going to come in and attack. And this lets us, as my friend Clambo would put it, test out the combat system. Well, Thutmose wants to fight. He's got to clear this out of the way. Basically, both sides need this fight. So let's see what we're going to have happen. First things, Gotta get some of these counters out of the way. And then I'm going to have to unstack the Mitanni. So I'm going to take a moment and spread these out. I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so if we look at the situation, it doesn't look pleasing for Thutmose here. He's got only 2 chariots versus a significant advantage, 5 for the Mitanni. The Mitanni have 3 divisions versus 2 for the Egyptians. Definitely at a numerical disadvantage. Almost the entirety of the Mitanni army has been mustered against them here. Still a force here, though. This is only allowable because of essentially the truce that the Hadi were able to enforce on the Mitanni. Probably the Mitanni would have agreed to such a truce anyhow through negotiation or something, but as it stands, they're, you know, making the best out of a situation that's kind of cool. They would have rather not had to fight the Egyptian king, but well, given that they are, they're going to do this. Now, they're going to try a charge attack here. And in order to do this, they have more chariots. They get a -1. It is double the number of chariots, so they get actually a -2. But they don't have triple. There are no action cards. So, the difference between the battle commanders, though, is 2. So they're going to need a 1 to fire this off, the automatic victory. And they do not get it. And now the Egyptians get a chance to fire off a charge as well. Now they've got 4 -2. They could get it on a 1 or a 2. They'll do that. They do not get one either. Both sides are committed, though, to taking half their losses in chariot units because they've actually charged forward. Now, we determine the total combat strength. That's just adding 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 22. And I use a little Egyptian marker here to mark that. And now here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 29, and 9 is 38, and 9 is 47 for the Mitanni. Hey, it doesn't wrap around, but which is kind of impressive. I would have expected, usually these kind of tables do wrap around when they get that big. But the Mitanni have about as big an army as you can get here. Now, what about battle advantage here? Well, nobody had any cards they wanted to play for this. The local allies bonus, this is a Mitanni controlled area that we're fighting, and I marked it with that. So they're going to get a +1 to the die roll. It's not their home area. No terrain. Divisional integrity. They get an additional +1, so we're at +2. It ends up being even because Thutmose is equal to him. Which means I'll roll a red die for the Egyptian and a white die for the Mitanni. And they're really straight up here. And they both roll 4s. So the Egyptians do 13 and the Mitanni do 19. Let's take a look at what that means. We've got to take the majority, we've got to take half here. 2, 4, 6. I've got to kill all of these. Hold off on these because we want to keep track of what dies. 6. That means I have 13 more that I have to wound. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's all she wrote there. That's going to create a victory point for the Mitanni for having defeated the Egyptians. And we'll mark them over here. And this is a per turn victory point. And now let's, because they did more damage, let's see what happened to them. They only take 13. They've got to take half that here. Just 2, 4, 6. I might as well keep my chariots alive. They're an advantage to me that way. I've got 7 more, which means I'll take those on just 1 division. but my army's in pretty good shape now. Now the Egyptians get to retreat. I'll be back in a moment after that. So the Egyptians played this rally card, which allows them to take 2 of their units back at partial strength, and they'll take one of the infantry and, well, the 1 infantry that died, and they'll take a chariot back. And they're going to withdraw back to Kadesh here. And this other thing, well, it's a chariot, so it's just dead. It doesn't go into the chart. It's not going to be regenerated next turn automatically. The thing with chariots and mercenaries, you have to pay for them every turn. We've got our Mitanni here, and let's just see if anything else happens on the victory. The winner of the battle gains control of the space. That's similar to a lot of these games, the CDG, the point-to-point ones. Well, they already had it, so it's not really an issue for them. And I'll put these back up, and then we'll be moving on to the Hatti, who will be trying to expand westward. And to finish things up, the actions for the other players. The Hittites played this card for its action points to move into Walusa. They can't just grab the political control markers. They have to have an army in the region, so they had to move here first. Now with a 1 point they could grab this, or they could use movement to grab additionals. This one's valuable to them because they can incorporate it into the Hittite homeland. The Egyptians played this army reforms. I was kind of torn on this because they're going to get another one on turn 2. Egyptians seem to have a few special rules that are kind of hard to find anywhere. So for example here, it doesn't explain on their card, it doesn't explain here, but somewhere in the rules it mentions that on turn 2 they're going to get additional troops. And maybe somewhere it mentions this additional forces back in Upper Egypt as well, the additional resources that they can pick up. And finally, for the Kassites, they played a big 3-point card so that they can move into Assyria, and they've grabbed 1 territory in it. They've got to grab this as well as 1 more territory, so they need a 2 card for that. And here they've got 2, they need a 2 card for that as well. They don't need the 3 cards to move those big leaders necessarily. Might be advantageous though to grab control of more territories. Remember, they want to get control of these 2 and Sumer so they can play their victory point card, and it looks like they can probably do that this turn. Alright, well, we're on to the 3rd round then. Excellent. And we replace, and we get to see what the Mitanni are going to do about the Egyptians down here.